Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular Cumberland Fire Committee meeting. Before we begin, I'd like to take a roll call. So, Commissioner Ashenbaugh?
Here.
Commissioner Hogan?
Here.
Commissioner Cucciani?
Here.
Commissioner Picone?
Here.
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Commissioner Santoro?
Present.
Everybody's here. All right, so next on the agenda would be a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance, which is
Behind us.
right behind us.
Chairman, if we could do the moment of silence in honor of Roland Traynor. He's the father-in-law of Fire Inspector Jason LaValle.
Absolutely. We will keep him in our thoughts. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And a moment of silence for Mr. Traynor, you said? And on behalf of the committee, please extend my sympathies to Inspector LaValle. Okay. General announcements. Anyone? Okay, moving forward. We will, next on the item is to approve the minutes from 9/28/21.
Madam Chair, if I
Commissioner
may.
Hogan.
I don't know if it's a typo, but under the consent agenda, approval of minutes from August 24th, 2021, it seems that the motion was made by myself and seconded by myself. So I don't know if that's... So I single-handedly took care of that motion.
Well, that was very nice
so,
of you.
Yeah, I didn't...
Okay. That's interesting. I would have to go back to my notes or the recording to find out who actually first,
Fine.
Made the,
I'll make a note and have Kevin look into that so it's corrected for the next meeting.
thank you.
So I make a motion to, what do you call it?
Table.
Table
the-
the approval of the minutes.
There's a motion on the table to table the approval of the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner, the motion was made by Commissioner Santoro, seconded by Commissioner Picone. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of tabling the minutes from September? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. We shall table the acceptance of the minutes. Moving forward, any communications? I have none. All right, new business. Discussion, consideration, and possible vote to approve the chief's report. Oh, Mr. Snappy is supposed to be here. I wonder if he thinks it's at Town Hall, or could someone
I'll text him.
text him, please? Thank you. Okay. All right, discussion, consideration, and possible vote to approve the chief's report from September 2021. Acting Chief?
So Chief Anderson's on vacation this week. He did put together the chief's report for you. A few of the highlights would be, we have four IOD firefighters. 2 have filed for the disability pension. They've been out for approximately the 18-month limit on that in order to file. One is for a long-term knee injury, and one is due to cancer. The second item I would point out would be in the first paragraph with fire prevention, the food and liquor licenses. The town has gone to an e-permitting process where Administrative Assistant Kerry Smith has really, she's always got a lot of things going on, But her job in that regard has been expanded. It used to be that we would do the inspections on all food and liquor licenses, and if your business was okay, it was okay. And you say there's 150 of them, let's say. Minor violations, very minor violations, we would tell the town approve, and we're working with, we're talking, you have 10 fire extinguishers and we found 2 out of date. We'll work with you. And then the more severe violations, they would hold up the license on that. Now it has become that with the e-permitting process, she needs to go into every single license online, approve, disapprove. So it's become more work on her part, but between her and Inspector LaValle, they're handling it quite well. The last item, and probably the scariest, is the apparatus floor at Station 4. By this time, most of you have been around quite a while, and you know the situation with the floor. It's getting worse. The chief was recommended by a local contractor. An engineering company, I believe they're out of Boston, they came down and checked it out last Friday, took pictures, measurements, I believe, and they're gonna get back to him on that. In the meantime, for those that don't remember, it's a 2-bay floor. The primary bay, both bays have been coated years ago to try to stop the leaking. The problem is the floor flexes, it's cracked, and it leaks. It's right above the fire prevention, tax collection, meeting area, gymnasium area, which also houses the main electrical panel for the building. I think Chief Anderson brought that to you last month or via email, or I brought it to you. So in the meantime, until we get that answer, we've moved the truck to the right-hand bay. The problem that's going to occur is the left-hand bay, after the merge, approximately 4 years ago, we had it recoated, just where the truck sits. And of course, it developed cracks because the floor flexes. They are smaller cracks, so that results in smaller leaks. Underneath there is where the floor is the worst. We moved the truck over to the right-hand bay. That coat was not, that floor was not coated 4 years ago, and it has more significant cracks, but the underside is in nicer condition. The problem is, it's gonna leak like a sieve. The last few winters we had tarps over it. It housed the dive trailer, which obviously doesn't go out that often, especially doesn't go out in snow season. So we're gonna have an issue with using that bay when the truck comes back full of snow. As lousy as it sounds, we did have some luck on the left side. We're gonna try it again on the right side with, of all things, Flex Seal. So we're gonna do that. But it's not 100% fix. Where the tires go over, it pulls it up. We hope it's gonna slow it down. I'm sure I hope by next month, Chief Anderson will have some much more concrete answers for you. But as of right now, it's not a good scene.
Can the dive trailer be moved to another location
Sure. Right.
since?
And like, so right now, the dive trailer is outside, but we couldn't, so the left-hand bay, which is where the problem is, We have the 1931 Rio over there.
Mhm.
The dive trailer we could put elsewhere, but these are very light loads. I mean, the Rio weighs not much more than your average vehicles.
Mhm.
It's just the weight of the modern vehicles
Right.
is just too much.
But is it also the weight of the cumulative amount of vehicles?
That's not what we've been told.
Okay.
It's, and of course, if anybody, I know there's been several meetings there downstairs over the years, I know you've been a part of. When that truck backs in,
Ugh,
Sounds like it's coming through the floor.
it's a
Yeah.
creaky sound.
Yes.
So dive trailer, I mean, it's a 14-foot enclosed trailer with dive equipment in it, not
Right.
heavy.
Okay.
The Rio is, there's no water in the Rio. I don't think the thing holds more than 100 gallons anyway, but it probably doesn't weigh much more than your car.
Mhm.
So we're not worried about that static load.
Okay.
Other than that, I'll take any questions you may have. Yes, sir.
You may have explained this earlier, but, I mean, it's a concrete floor,
Yes.
and what's basically right underneath the concrete floor?
So
I don't mean down in the lower level, but is it a wooden, I don't know what term to use.
So they call it Q deck. It's a corrugated metal panel. Not much different than like a metal roof. They use that to pour the concrete onto. Well, the Q decking is rotting out. And in some places, and this is what concerned them last week, the Q decking has got texture in it and it's crushing. So that means it has moved. Underneath there is not much different than you would see in like a BJ's or a Walmart or Stop and Shop. It's steel bar joists. Those steel bar joists have had rust on them, but now some of them in areas are starting to rot and become porous.
And
My understanding that floor was put in the 50s, and then in the 90s, they ripped the whole thing out, because they had this problem already. Ripped the whole thing out, put more bar joists in, put a thicker floor in. That's why when you leave the garage, there's a dip. They put a thicker floor in. And here we are with the same issues.
But once that water leaks through the floor, through the corrugated steel, whatever you want to, to the
Yeah.
bar joists, right, the next level would be the ceiling of the.
Yeah, so the back part of the building has fire prevention and tax collection. We don't park vehicles there. The front part of the building, if you're looking at the building where the truck would sit on the left side, we have, it's a commercial product. It's basically a big umbrella. And it's zip tied into the rafters to catch that water. The right side, we had the tarp. And without the tarp, or before the tarp, we would literally have buckets. So that's where we're at right now, is the upcoming winter. We either need to get more of those slings underneath, or something. But, yeah,
Well,
the chickens have come home to roost.
But that something is gonna have to be suggested by people who are experienced in that field. Not that you are not experienced, but
I'm not experienced enough.
but
By
have
far.
the expertise and knowledge to make hopefully some suggestions. These engineers haven't come back with a report yet, have they?
They have not.
Okay.
That was
Yeah,
only 4 or 5 days ago.
okay,
But yeah, it's definitely an engineering,
okay.
this is not a do-it-yourself fix.
Right.
So,
Yes, sir.
basically, Chief, we've been putting Band-Aids on for the last 20 years for that station. I remember that when I was a kid back in filling the air tanks up back in the old days with the old, remember the old, and remember the air task force, Dana?
Cascade system.
Cascade, yeah. And I remember that they did rebuild that whole section. That was basically like a roof, and it wasn't made to have officers laying under it. So my concern is that we should put this at the highest of our agenda. This is first for our employee safety. 2 is electrical system. If that water leaks down and hits the electrical for the whole building, the station's out, right? Because you said that, I mean, either way, the Bay 1 or Bay 2, I mean, the water's gonna leak, once it gets down to the corrugated, it's gonna leak either straight down, sideways, across the whole thing. We need to just take the bulls by the horns, just fix this thing right. And just, if it takes 2 weeks of truck outside before it gets too cold out, fix it right the first time, for once.
That's probably a good idea, but
It costs money.
in speaking with the chief, I mean, and as Mr. Cucciani said, we're not qualified for this.
No, I understand that, but I want us to know what
Between Nick and I, when we guess,
Yeah.
I don't see it being done for less than 500.
Oh,
We're talking about a complete rip out and redo again,
Yeah, that's not a 2-week job.
and,
That's not a 2-week job.
Exactly. So we're gonna try to Band-Aid and whatnot, and I would certainly hope that, hopefully by next month, Chief Anderson will have some better answers. This thing's only a week, we're only a week into this new discovery, if you will, so you just have to bear with us a little bit, but
is structural integrity in general safe
we believe so,
for administrative officers?
yes.
That's regardless of the price of all this, and if it matters, we have to take a loan to fix for this, for the structural integrity of our employees. That's what matters most to me,
Correct.
yeah.
Well, what's,
And we're not, the weight is not over that area.
Yep. Yeah, they're.
In fact, one of the contractors that was there had mentioned you could possibly pour a concrete wall halfway across the bay and fill the front and leave the back. But we are so far away from determining that. But the engineers that were there last week did not give the chief any reason to believe that they need to be evacuated.
Okay, thank you, sir.
so we can get the report and then take the next step, and if it requires an emergency meeting of some, if it requires that, I'm sure that that's doable, but one step at a time, I think. Or maybe multiple small steps
Yeah,
at a
we're
time.
still in the discovery phase. And the experts that were there last Friday, I was not at the meeting, but they didn't tell us, you must do this or you must do that.
Okay, well,
Chief, I did sit in on that upon request of the chief and the chair as a role of the capital improvement committee, so that we didn't have to
You
call
were
them.
with the engineer?
Yes, I
last
didn't
Friday?
meet, I was there, and Chief Anderson did most of the conferring with him. But the way I understand it is, the engineer is gonna come back with a proposal of what is required of us to retain his services, to give us an official document, and that's what we have to do, because no engineer is gonna approve something with hearsay, right? So, like you said, we're in a holding pattern till the engineer comes back, says, here's what the assessment, I guess he volunteered his time to come down, and as far as I know, but to give an official document to what are the fixes, can we backfill, make a solid floor in there? And that would require, and I talked to Chief Anderson, of putting a temporary structure so that we're not compromising the response district. We can't move the truck to Station 2. We can't do it, which is leaving too wide of a gap in the response area. So, there's a lot of little pieces to fit in this puzzle to put a temporary structure, say, in back of the station, and it has to conform to all the NFPA. So it's not like you said, it's not a quick
I'm glad
fix.
I'm glad you were there and kind of understand that
It's not a quick.
we're still in the discovery phase.
Right. So when this engineer comes back and says, here's your options, and here's what, then we'd have to find out what the cost of those options are. One is filling, you're on a suspended ceiling where the apparatus is stored, and we don't have a station in town that has that. I mean, we have upstairs, but they're really either administrative or other.
Station 2.
That's a solid floor.
I know, upstairs.
Yeah, upstairs. We have second floors, but they don't house apparatus.
Correct.
And that's the only station that's, even the old section is suspended, and where the air supply trailer is. So that whole, wherever any apparatus is in that station is up. And there's a sub-basement below it, and it's used for different purposes. So that's it, we're in holding pattern until we hear back from the engineer.
Very good.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones, are you saying that he wants us to retain him, like pay him money?
He didn't say that.
For that?
It would, any engineer, I imagine, have to be compensated for their research. So that's up in the air. It's up to this board to, but at least he can put us in the right direction. That's the way I take it, that whether we can retain him or whoever, that's where it's at. Okay.
Well, we would have to, in order to find that out, we would have to call other engineers to get second and third opinions.
That's what I would think.
Any other questions for me?
Make a motion to accept the chief's report.
There's a motion on the table to accept the chief's report by Commissioner Santoro. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Ashenbo. Any further discussion? I just want to say I'm happy to see that even with COVID, Fire Prevention Month was still an important part of kids' lives in the town of Cumberland. Good. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of accepting the chief's report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is the Finance Director's report. Motion, discussion, consideration, and possible vote to approve Finance Director's report from August 2021. Why are we not doing September?
It's September.
I'm looking at the old notes, sorry. I'm looking at last year's notes. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, discussion, consideration, and possible vote to approve the Finance Director's report from September 2021.
Good evening, everyone. I did email the financial report out to everyone ahead of time. I did not get back to your questions, but if you have questions, I'll certainly answer. I just want to bring your attention to our collection, because I know that's a concern of everybody. That's why I mention it every week. Everyone wants to know about that. As of the end of September, we were at 58%, but when we looked at the numbers today, because the quarter was due October 15th, we are approaching 70% so far for this month. So if not at 70%, but very close to it as of the end of this quarter, which is our second quarter, which is pretty good.
Good.
So, like I said, I know everybody's interested in what that number is. That's why I like to draw your attention to it. If anybody has any questions, I'll certainly answer them for you.
Any questions for Steve?
And the audit is ongoing. I mentioned last month that they were beginning, and it is ongoing. They're doing it mostly remote, so a lot of information is emailed back and forth and uploaded to a portal for them to get what they need.
Okay.
I know we end up usually filing an extension for that. Do you foresee that happening again this year? Or?
Right now, no. Right now, no.
So if it's all on time, what's the projected completion?
December 31st is the end that the report has to be submitted to the Auditor General's office.
You know, and Steve, in comparison to previous years, I mean, this is pretty consistent,
Yes.
58, 59% for the end of September.
Yes. Even though we did see a shift with COVID, there was a lot of refinancing going on, so there's a lot of taxes that are being escrowed. So we did see an uptick in the amount of payments from the CoreLogic and the escrow holders, but we're still pretty consistent with that number that we stand.
Good. Do we still have people who owe for 2021, fiscal year 21?
Yes, there's still a small balance on that, and we've been collecting some of that as well.
Okay. All right. I'm just curious, is there any reason why these people, you know, I recall from reviewing last year's numbers, and a lot of the owed property was by an organization or a company. Is there any reason why these people are not paying?
I can't answer that.
Mystery. Okay. Any further questions for our finance director? All right, is there a motion on the table to approve the finance director's report from September 2021?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to accept the financial director's report for September 2021.
Commissioner Kutsiani makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hogan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of accepting the finance director's report from September 2021, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 7-0. Okay, next item on the agenda, discussion, consideration, and possible vote to approve Resolution 2021-10 authorizing Fire Chief Nicholas Anderson to retire Bus 1, our 20640 Connell Line bus, and to proceed with the best option for disposal. As I scroll through to find it, here we go. Resolution 2021-10 to authorize Fire Chief Nicholas Anderson to retire 2006 Ford Econoline bus and to proceed with the best options for disposal. Bus 1 was inspected by a vehicle technician who identified over 265,000 miles on the bus and will require ongoing maintenance. The turbo on the engine needs repair and the fuel tank is rotted. Bus number 1 requires repairs that are not cost-effective to suit the needs of the district, and I don't believe that bus was used very much at all.
Hardly at all.
Right. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Cumberland Fire District as follows. Fire Chief Nicholas Anderson is authorized to dispose of Bus 1 at the highest possible cost recovery. Is there a motion on the table to accept this resolution?
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept by Commissioner Hogan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Picone. Any discussion? Or any questions regarding Bus 1?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Kutsiani.
are there any known preliminary discussions with any organization or entity in regards to that particular vehicle?
The only entity that came up in discussions in the last year was the Rhode Island Firefighters Pipes and Drums might be interested in it. I've done some research on auction websites and whatnot on a possible value. The fact that it has check engine lights that point to a turbo and extremely high mileage, it's just not going to be worth much. But we'll do whatever we can.
If they want it.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner.
not a question really, but just a remark. We did at one time have plans, well, not we, the command staff had some preliminary plans. We had met with Commissioner Hayden way back and possibly using that vehicle for a rehab unit. They're going to retrofit for a multi-purpose vehicle, but it never really panned out. So there's no pressing I mean, we can't use a vehicle for the purpose that, weighing the value of the vehicle versus repairing it, it's not, you know, with your best assessment, it's not really worth keeping or maintaining.
No, it's,
That vehicle was donated, I think,
it was donated
from the state.
from RIPTA.
RIPTA, yeah.
We had to buy the tires from it, like at cost or whatever. I want to say it's maybe $500.
Yeah.
We put a couple batteries in it. Other than that, I don't think we spent much money on it. But it came to us as a surprise, and we thought we might be able to do something with it, and over the time, it didn't work out. I shouldn't say it didn't work out. We just didn't have the use for it that we thought we might.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? All right, hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of accepting resolution 2021-10 to allow Fire Chief Nick Anderson to dispose of Bus 1 at the highest possible cost recovery? Say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you. Okay, moving on. At this point in time on our agenda, we are planning on entering executive session.
I make a motion to enter executive session to discuss items of business cited in
Rhode Island General Law?
cited in RIGL section, I'm reading this, 42-46-5, A, 1 through 9. Discussion, consideration, of possible vote relative to matters relating to collective bargaining agreement, RIGL, 45-46-45, subsection A, subsection 2.
That's 45-46-5. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yep, 45, 46, 5, and then A, and then 2.
Is there a second? The motion was made by Commissioner Santoro. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hogan. All in favor of entering into executive session to discuss items of business cited in Rhode Island General Law, Section 42-46-5, A 1 through 9, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Okay. We are out of executive session. There is no public input. A vote was
You have to
taken.
announce that, you have to announce that 2 votes were taken. One to seal the minutes,
And the other to close the meeting.
no.
Oh, to,
One, you had 2 votes, one to close the meeting, that passed 7-0, and another vote that passed 7-0. That's sealed with the minutes.
okay,
And we do.
The content of which is sealed with the minutes at this time.
all right.
Need the motion?
So
Not a
there
motion,
is,
she's just announcing what occurred.
so in executive session, there was a vote, which was 7-0, ending executive session. And then there was a vote to seal the minutes, at which, and in the executive session, there was a vote that passed 7-0 regarding the content of the meeting. No,
That's fine. I mean, it's just
Fine.
executive vote,
okay,
so.
so 2 votes were taken. Okay. Is there a motion on the table to adjourn this meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
By Commissioner Pacone,
Second.
Second.
second by, we'll give it to Commissioner Hogan. There's a vote to adjourn by Commissioner Pacone and seconded by Commissioner Hogan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of adjourning this meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.